past it hasn't really been, but like now I think people are becoming more aware, you know,
and weight conscious,
and because of weight, I guess people are becoming more aware of their health and fitness as a whole. So now it's becoming sports is like the easiest, you know, it's convenience and there's a lot of people around, and then
sometimes what you eat.
Yeah, and then sports, and it's cheap, it's like free, you know. Unlike gym membership is, you know, costly.
Yeah, it is a priority because, I mean, everybody needs health. It's like a basic necessity for everybody.
So what do you do to keep healthy?
I exercise. Sometimes I eat healthy. Obviously, like I'm just but yeah, I eat healthy.
Yeah, it is. It has to be. Like,
so what do you do to keep healthy?
Try to run, play soccer, do sports, as much physical activity as I can.
I exercise, try to eat good food, do my research on what I should eat that will make me healthier.
I go to the gym, I eat healthy food, help most of the time.
So around 1.2 billion people, or 1 in 6 of the world's population, are adolescents aged 10 to 19. Now, over half of the South African population is under the age of 25. So in light of Youth Month in South Africa, it is critical that we are aware of the struggles facing some of our youth. Now, most are healthy, but there's still substantial premature death, illness, and injury among adolescents. It is not uncommon, for instance, to learn about depression, suicide, alcohol and substance abuse, violence, and risky behavior affecting our youth. Now, illness can hinder our youth's ability to grow and develop to their full potential. So promoting healthy behaviors during adolescence and taking steps to better protect young people from health risks are critical for the prevention of health problems in adulthood and for countries' future health and ability to develop and thrive. So our topic for today, therefore, is youth and health. And to help us unpack this, we have a panel comprised of the Assistant Director of Youth from the Department of Social Development, a dietitian, the Research Director from the Human Sciences Research Council, or HSRC, a Senior Counselor from SARAC, or South African Depression and Anxiety Group, and the CEO of an organization called aware.org. Now, be part of this show by asking the panel some questions or simply just sharing your views with us. And the number to call in that case is Johannesburg 714-6918 or 6919. You can also tweet us at SABC Health Talk or simply interact with us on our Facebook page, SABC Health Talk. So sit back, relax, and learn from this bumper show ahead. Coming to you just after a short break. I'm Dr. Solomon Daung, and this is Health Talk.
One's life can change in an instant. It is then that you need fast and efficient service, and that is why Asupol created the Instant Groceries benefit for you. Minutes after a claim, an electronic voucher for 2,500 Rand will be sent to your cell phone, and within an instant you can start doing shopping at all the major stores. More than 700,000 customers have already received the Instant Groceries benefit. Get yours in an instant. SMS call to 32813.
I would say it is a priority and it is definitely essential.
What do you do to keep healthy?
I try to eat healthy and I do my morning jogs.
I think health is a priority depending on your career as well. I had a lot of alcohol when I was young. When I was growing up, I decided it's better if I stay healthy for myself, for my future as well, and for my kids. I think health is a very, very big priority as a human being.
Yes, health is very much a priority in my life. In fact, it should be in everyone's lives, man.
Okay, so what do you do to keep healthy?
I eat healthy, I drink a lot of water, I rest, I follow a very strict vegan diet. I'm actually vegetarian, so I don't eat meat.
Health is a priority in my life because I need to live for a long time, and after that, man, yeah.
So what do you do to keep healthy?
To keep healthy, I exercise, I follow a healthy diet, Yeah, and I also keep the mind healthy.
I think health is very important. I'm very active. I run a lot. I do a lot of sports, swimming. I try to stay as active as much as possible. Also, try to keep with dietary plans and whatnot, you know.
It's a priority for everyone.
What do you do to keep healthy?
Exercise, check my diet. I've cut off meat. What else? Yeah, I just look after my health that way. Detox once in a while.
All right, so that's our youth. We're going to learn more about, youth and health. And it's a great pleasure to welcome our special guest to help us unpack this topic. First up is Zizile Khumalo. Zizile is the Assistant Director for Youth at the Department of Social Development. Welcome to Health Talk, Zizile.
Namaste.
Right. And in the middle, we have Professor Mondema Kiwani, who's the Research Director from the HSRC, let's call it that. Welcome to Health Talk.
Welcome to everyone.
All right. And of course, last but not least is Ingrid Lowe, who's CEO of an organization called aware.org. Welcome to Health Talk.
Thank you.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about youth. What do we mean by youth? In my introduction, I mentioned the age 10 to 19. What constitutes, how do we define youth? Let's start with you, Ingrid.
Well, in my world, in the world that I come from, when we talk about youth, we talk about 17 and under, because the legal drinking age in South Africa is 18. Anything below that is who we regard as youth.
What do you think? Yeah.
Generally, the young people internationally are defined between 15 and 24.
Right.
Yeah, the stage between being a child and being an adult.
Yeah.
But in South Africa, we normally extend that definition to the age of 35. So if you talk about youth, either use international definition or use the South African definition.
Okay. So Zizile, is this the Youth League that tells us to extend the definition to age 35, or is there a formal, official classification?
There is a formal classification.
Right.
We take note of the South African Constitution and also the Child Care Act. The Constitution recognizing young people from 18 to 35 years of age.
Right.
But the Child Care Act then goes from 0 to 17 years.
Okay.
So you'll find different agencies and constituencies coming up with programs that are designed to assist young people based on that specific target.
Yeah.
But in South Africa, it depends on what is the focus area, what are your programs, what do you want to achieve that will guide you in the specific target area.
Right.
So from the Child Care Act to the Constitution, we basically covered until 35.
All right. So I need some help from you. For the purposes of this show, what should we be looking at?
Well, I think that it will be safer to stick to the international definition of youth.
Okay.
24. We can refer to older young people as required by South African Constitution, but so that we can focus, we can.
Yeah. So we're essentially going to be talking about the youth and adolescents.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's quite a lot that affects youth these days, and I'd like to just unpack that, and we can classify the various problems, the way that we would like. Perhaps let's start with you, Ingrid. In your world, what are the health issues or the major problems affecting youth? I mean, bearing in mind that health is quite broad, there's also social issues that ultimately determine health. So what are the issues in your world?
So we take a very narrow focus because our core mandate is about alcohol harm reduction, about addressing the high levels of alcohol abuse and misuse, especially amongst the youth. It's a deep concern that we have young people that are consuming alcohol, some from as young as 15, and research tells us even as young as 13.
Right.
So in our world, that's a big concern for us, and we've got programs obviously directed at addressing those issues.
Okay. So on a social level, alcohol abuse.
Yeah, there are quite a number of issues. Yeah, one of them, as has been said, substance abuse in general, including alcohol. It's big among young people, but also reproductive health is a big issue among young people. They are worse affected by issues that are related to reproductive health.
Let's unpack that a bit. What specific issues?
Well, HIV/AIDS
right.
and other sexually transmitted infections
Right.
are a big problem.
Right.
But also issues like adolescence and unwanted pregnancies
Right.
are big issues related to young people.
Okay, let's get from a government's perspective. Yeah?
Well, the colleagues have covered most of the issues, but maybe just to add, one would not be able to sit in a conversation like this and not speak about issues of obesity that we're seeing is a major problem in our country. We're also seeing a trend amongst young people of suicide. So issues of mental illnesses and unfortunately amongst especially black communities, there is a certain stigma that is attached to one that has mental illnesses.
Right.
So it would be great for us to really dwell deep into those spaces that are not unpacked for our young people at home to be able to feel normal, to feel that, okay, I am part of that which exists, but how do we move forward as a country?
So are there any specific reasons or risk factors, as it were, to all of these problems that we mentioned? Ingrid?
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you look at young people, they're also individuals in their own right. And they're also under pressure. I mean, whether it's peer pressure, whether it's, coming from unstable home environment, maybe not proper guardians, no proper role models. And, they find themselves floundering because they don't have anyone to talk to. And it's amazing that even in the age of social awareness, they find themselves quite isolated. And I think that that's some of the reasons that contribute to them going to alcohol or drugs, as my colleague just mentioned.
I'm sure the HSRC has done quite a few studies looking particularly at that. Yeah?
Yeah. In addition to what has already been mentioned, I would mention specifically youth poverty.
Yeah.
As we know that unemployment rate is highest among young people.
Yeah. Right.
So many of them are unemployed and are looking for survival. And secondly is youth mobility. The young people are the most mobile section of the population. Many of them have just moved from parental homes and are seeking survival somewhere else away from parents or from friends. So that isolation might lead to quite a lot of behavior that leads to unhealthy state.
Let's hear from Department of Social
Yeah, I would like to add to my colleague who was speaking more on the pressure side.
Right.
In our conversations, and we as a Department of Social Development, we've done a lot of youth engagement initiatives, from youth dialogues to youth leadership camps to summits. So we continue to create spaces for us as government to engage with young people, so that when we sit in spaces like these, we're not talking about desktop analysis, but really information that's coming from the ground. And there were two major, when we're speaking about pressure, there were two major things that young people raised at the National Leadership Camp 2016,
right.
2017, excuse me. One of them was just that need to break the poverty cycle. There's that pressure where families that are living in poverty are aware of what exists beyond.
Okay.
But the elderly are either too old or without skills to do anything to change the situation. So there's a lot of pressure in each and every household, but also from other young people that are in the community who've started working. You can see them. There's black tax. They go back and they want to build. They extend their home. So the young people that are still living in communities are having that pressure. But maybe the last pressure is just with social network. The advantage of social network is that it connects people that would take ages and years to connect. But that connection is just a bit too close.
Too close. So,
too close.
Let's take a caller on the line. We have Mrs. Jones from Cape Town. Mrs. Jones, welcome to Health Talk.
Thank you.
Do you want to comment or ask a question?
Yeah, to comment. We're looking at the youth and we're looking at what the problems are. Now, I have a major problem, sir. If we are socializing and we are rearing our children at a dinner table where everybody is sitting with liquor, I find it problematic when the children go out and socialize and they've been exposed to liquor, growing up with liquor on the dinner table, for us to say that they cannot drink. That's the one issue I want to say. And then the second issue is every second commercial on our TV screen is about liquor. Okay, so I want the panel to comment on those two.
All right, thank you very much.
The phone number.
Thank you so much. Very valid comments, I suppose, directed at you, Ingrid, to say, you know, I mean, we're talking causes and risk factors here. What we do as families around dinner tables, you know, we promote alcohol drinking and advertising.
So maybe let me start with advertising. I mean, I think that as far as the liquor industry is concerned, we have an internal code of communication around the responsible marketing of liquor products. It's just been under review and we're about to launch it. And you're going to see a marked difference in the kind of TV ads, in how the story is told, how the narrative is told. Because we want to move away from it looking aspirational, making it sexy, because we feel that that's the way we communicate into the young people and it's not done responsibly. So on advertising in particular, we will be addressing that over the coming months. We're in dialogue with government around that. And you'll start seeing tangible differences. Insofar as kids are being introduced to alcohol around the dinner table, I mean, South Africa is a free country. I can't tell you if you want to have a glass of wine with your meal at night not to do that. But then as a parent and a guardian, you need to take responsibility for those kids. And how do you do that? By having the conversation. They need to know that it's not allowed. If you're 17 and under, it's absolutely not. It's not maybe, it's not it depends, it's no. And so parents need to take that responsibility. By far, the majority of South Africans enjoy drinking responsibly.
Well, I think this is a good point to break because we need to keep this at the back of our minds. We're going to come back to the subject. But now, time for a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue our discussion on youth and health. Please stay with us.
One's life can change in an instant. It is then that you need fast and efficient service. And that is why Asupol created the Instant Groceries benefit for you. Minutes after a claim, an electronic voucher for 2,500 Rand will be sent to your cell phone. And within an instant, you can start doing shopping at all the major stores. More than 700,000 customers have already received the Instant Groceries benefit. Get yours in an instant. SMS call to 32813.
For me, health, it is a priority, and I feel like for a varsity student, sometimes it's even difficult because if you can, I'm a vet student, and if you can see our campus health doesn't even provide medication for chronic illnesses except for STDs and all that. So you have to go to Hillbrow and all that. Sometimes you have to miss the exams and all those things. However, I feel like we do get much education about it, and we do get free condoms everywhere we go, even though they're not that safe as they say, because you can use the condom and it can pass anytime.
For one, don't sleep around. That's one thing, you know. Try to stick to one partner. It's not easy, but yeah, you got to try those kind of things. And obviously, you've got contraceptives and stuff like that. So yeah, there are means out there to keep yourself safe.
You have to use protection. Obviously, we are in a period where young people should learn about this. It should be obvious. People should use protection. People should know more about the diseases, sexual transmitted diseases. They should know all about that. Research.
I'm assuming you use different type of contraceptives, especially a condom. Do not have unprotected sex at all costs, or abstain.
Abstinence. Abstinence. We would like to say abstinence. But like in this day and age, honestly, it's just about protection without protection. People are taking contraception. Contraceptives. Yeah, and using condoms. And especially at schools, they give out condoms, and there's always awareness programs.
Abstaining is the best because even condoms, sometimes it's like you are promoting young people to be more involved in sexual activities. Sometimes you may say, okay, the condoms will prevent them not to have sexual diseases or kids. But then again, it's like you are motivating them to go out there and do more and more and more.
All right, to learn more about, sexual health and youth, We still have our guest, Professor Monde Makiwani from the HSRC, and Zizila Kumalo Nyembe, and apologies for earlier missing out on the Nyembe part, and who's the Assistant Director Youth at the Department of Social Development. And we're now joined by another special guest, Phumlani Somatala, who's a senior counselor from SADC, South African Depression and Anxiety Group. Welcome to Health Talk.
Thank you.
All right. Someone said research. Let's start with you, Prof. What do we know about the biggest? I mean, you started unpacking some of the issues around, sexual health, but HIV and AIDS is still a major problem in our country. Where are we?
Well, it's still a major problem. We got excited because more young people were using condoms, and we thought that is going to save the situation. But what we are noticing is that the use of condom rate has declined somewhat from the time when everybody was speaking about AIDS. And more importantly, even those who use condoms don't use them consistently. Thirdly, the younger the person who's involved in sexual activity, the more likely that he or she won't be using a condom. So we know for sure that age at sexual debut is also declining, which means that it's exposing more young people to unprotected sex. There are other issues, the age disparity between partners. The higher the age disparity, the more likely that they want to use condom. So there are many issues which are involved: substance abuse, connection between substance abuse and sexual activity, and multiple sexual partners. So all those issues, they play a lot of role in making sure that we are not having the outcomes that we were expecting to be having at the moment.
Interesting. Let me bring you in, Phumlani, that he mentioned, the link between some of these social ills, such as, alcohol and sexual abuse with, alcohol and substance abuse with exposure to infections, sexually transmitted infections. Any link between sexual health and mental health?
Oh, there is a huge link between the two. As the professor said that, teenagers, they'll tend to use alcohol, then they'll engage in sexual activities without protection, and that might lead to one, contracting HIV or other sexual transmitted disease, which will lead to depression, which will lead to other mental illnesses. And we know that there is a very huge connection between mental health and a risky behavior of sexual intercourse. For example, people with bipolar, they tend to have risky sexual behaviors. So there is a huge connection between sexual intercourse, risky sexual intercourses, and mental health. Actually, mental health, it's connected to almost everything that we do in our daily lives, because, even with alcohol, most of the people, they tend to use substance abuse so that they can run away from their personal issues and mental problems. So there is a huge connection between sexual intercourse and substance abuse and mental health.
So we can't compartmentalize these issues. HIV and AIDS is not just a health matter, but it's a social matter. Your comment?
I'm just thinking about the great Thomas Sankara right now, who once said that a soldier with ammunition but without any political mandate is just like a criminal. And I'm looking at it in the South African context to say, yes, we celebrate when we distribute condoms, but without any education, that is absolute. But a vacuum that I'm seeing now with the previous speakers is that we as South African government need to update our information as well. There are two things that I think are isolated from the current information that we are currently giving. One, there is not much attention paid on sexual orientation. So lesbians, gays, bisexual, transgenders, and intersex are people that are isolated from community. Where does a young gay man get sexual education so that they can practice safe sex? if I, the counselor, am, for example, homophobic. So there are those issues that we still need to deal with. But there's also now times of trends and slay queens, and this unfortunately does perpetuate and promote a certain lifestyle amongst our young people. So I see a need not only with research, but for us to update our research so that the information that we are giving out there to young people is not only important but relevant, things that they can absorb and see around, so that we can move forward.
So whose responsibility is it then?
Together we can do more.
Yeah.
Together we can do more.
Like that. All right, let's take Reba on the line from Bloemfontein. Reba, welcome to Health Talk.
Hello, how are you?
We're good. How are you, Reba?
Very well, thanks. My comment is mainly around health and the youth. I find that affordability is also another factor. When you look at food intake, healthier options are more expensive than your less healthier options. And also to add on to what the lady said about trends, it's much cooler to do things that are not the best option for your health, and is to go to the gym or perhaps eat healthy. So affordability and trends, especially when it comes to youth, as a student myself, I know that there are major factors that influence how the youth live their lives.
All right. Thank you for that. It's an interesting one that she's bringing. Some may agree, some may disagree that the health is more expensive than the non-healthy options. Your comments?
Well, I just want to comment about trendy, because you find a quota is very popular in township youth. Not just township youth, I know youth that are staying in suburb who just go to township just because they miss quota.
Yeah.
There was a talk sometime that there's going to be introduction of a healthy quota and those concepts, but I haven't seen them taking root.
Yeah.
So we have to make healthy living very trendy among young people, and I haven't seen that we have tried that much.
Do you agree that healthy options are more expensive?
No, I think it's all in the mind. My father, Ubab Kumalo, lapha eNewcastle eMatadeni, plants. He plants from onion to lettuce to green pepper to spinach, everything.
Yeah.
So it's really, when we're speaking groceries in my household, we're speaking about the meat and
from the garden.
But everything is from the garden. If we make that cool, and I think it's, I'm going to link this to what was said earlier on about a glass of wine at the dinner table. Role modeling is a topic that we distance from ourselves as the older people. Role modeling starts with self. What you make cool around your friends, what you make acceptable and cool around your kids is exactly what they will take in. So we shouldn't be on a search for role models of celebrities that are up there. They have their own lives. But on a day-to-day basis, if we take those decisions, each and every person says, I want to not only live a healthier life, but I also want to set a good example for those that look at me, that come after me, then we would have won the battle already halfway.
Pumlani, you know what? I'm going to give you an opportunity in the next segment, because I'd like us to dwell a little deeper into mental health issues. Perhaps it's the last 30 seconds.
Well, I just wanted to comment about expense and healthy living.
Right.
For instance, red meat is very expensive, but it's very popular among the poor.
Yeah.
They don't say that, we are not buying red meat because it's so expensive.
Yeah. So the iron is there. All right,
Yeah.
okay. Maybe this is a good point to leave it. We'll come back to this when we discuss nutrition. But for now, quick commercial break. When we come back, we continue our discussion. Please stay with us.
A message from the Association for Alcohol Responsibility and Education, aware.org.
SABC News celebrates Youth Month.
So globally and in South Africa, approximately 20% of teens have a mental health disorder, but the majority is either not detected or untreated. Now, the consequences can be catastrophic. And joining us to discuss this is our special guest, Phumlani Somacala, who's a senior counselor from SADC. And of course, we have Zizile Khumalo-Nyembe, Assistant Director, Youth from the Department of Social Development. And of course, we still have Ingrid Lowe, CEO of Aware.org. Let me start with you. I mean, in my introduction, I obviously said that we have a major problem of mental health issues. Now, from your perspective as SADC, your experience, what are those common mental issues that you deal with affecting youth?
Okay. As I said when we were talking, that you cannot separate mental health and substance abuse. Right. Substance abuse is one of the huge factors that contribute to mental health, which can lead to depression. Depression is one of the things that we there's no day that we'll never go without having to get a call from someone who has depression. Teen suicide is another huge problem that we face in this country. Because most of our youth, they feel like their parents or their guidance or no one understand what they're going through. So the best way for them to feel better is to just commit suicide and kill themselves. We do deal with anxiety and postnatal depression, which is something that many ladies don't really take note of, or I might say they don't know about it, but it does happen. Postnatal depression, right after having a baby, you start having those depression feelings like you don't want your baby, and you cannot be able to look after the child and all those kind of things. And yeah,
so are you seeing that more and more in the young mothers? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, definitely we do. I'm not sure whether it's them who know more about SADC or what, but we do get a lot of calls from young mothers who will call in and say, for example, last week I had a caller who was like, my baby is in my room. I don't want my baby anymore. I don't feel like I can be able to take care of this child. I feel like, killing this child. Those kind of things. They happen. It's just that people, they don't really talk about them. But for us as SADC, we are privileged enough to get those calls from people talking about what they're going through.
Zizile, we haven't really spoken about interventions. We may have touched on, this and that. But from a mental health perspective, I mean, understanding that we're dealing with these problems, as broadly as possible. Obviously, there's interdepartmental, collaboration in dealing with these things. Any interventions that are directed at youth and mental health?
There are. From the side of the Department of Social Development, maybe let me start at policy level. Our Deputy Minister, Henrietta Zulu, is currently in New York on a convention that is focusing on persons with disabilities. And one of the issues that she's tabling at that UN level currently is the importance of recognizing mental illnesses as a form of disability. That is causing a lot of commotion at UN level, where because of the stigma that's associated with mental illnesses, but also because of the position that should other countries accept this, what it would mean for the Department of Health in the respective departments, for grants that are given to persons with disabilities. And it's a very strong position that South Africa is putting forward to say that this is a form of disability, because this is unfortunately a situation where one is not in control. So from a policy level, this is the agenda that we are pushing at UN level. But as far as programming is concerned, from the Office of Deputy Minister, who's leading the issues of disability in our department, to youth development and HIV/AIDS, population development, and all other directorates that are working with young people in our department. We have started this from dialogue level, and part of the interventions is to partner with organizations that are skilled, that have the capacity, and also profile them. Part of the way in which we support as government is to also offer funding to such organizations, because sometimes they have the skill, they have the will, and capacity might not be there. And from government perspective, we might be, policy might be directing us in that way, but we might not have the necessary capacity and skill in those subject issues. So partnership with organization is one of the programs that we are really focusing on as government.
All right. Ingrid, let's hear about the link. I mean, it was mentioned a little earlier, between alcohol and substance abuse and mental health. And understand exactly what aware.org, is doing in that regard.
Sure. So, I think that we understand that mental illness is a big challenge in South Africa, I think young and old alike. And in some instances, when you bring alcohol into the fray, it has a multiplier effect. And so if I could just refer to our underage drinking program in particular, which we've launched now in the Free State and in Mpumalanga, one of the interventions, part of the intervention is that we have a SADC line, a dedicated SADC line. So when we take these kids through the program and the intervention around consuming of alcohol and why you shouldn't be consuming and the impact it has on your body, on the development of your brain, there's a number that they can call, and they'll have someone 24/7 on the other side that they can talk to that will actually guide them through whatever they're dealing with, and that will be available for the children, but also for the parents in the community as well.
Okay, we have all these various programs, aimed at assisting youth, especially around risky behavior linked to alcohol. But are these working? We still have a major problem of motor vehicle accidents, alcohol and substance abuse, and all of this. What is it that is not working?
Anyway. Honestly speaking, we have been working very, very good with social development. Actually, the line, the 12, 13, 14, it's sponsored by social development. So social development has been doing very well with SADC to try and teach our communities about the dangers of substance abuse, and especially that substance abuse cannot take away your problems, but instead it's just going to make them even worse. And we also have been trying to find people rehabs and stuff. But unfortunately, as it has been said before by the guest, that as people who also have to take our own responsibility. As an adult, you know very well that drink and driving is wrong. You know very well that once you consume alcohol, you won't be in a good state to drive, but still you continue to go there and take your car and drive, and there will be consequences. And unfortunately, innocent people, they tend to be, the victim of your doings. So I think the more we educate people, the more people in this country will be able to see the importance of, taking responsibility as the community. We can't expect government to do everything for us. The government cannot think for us. Sure. We have to think for ourselves.
You want to comment?
Yes,
30
yes,
seconds,
I'd like to. We are also, as a department, realizing that likotwa limans, I don't know how to translate that in English, but relapse is most likely going to happen. So we are investing in younger generations. So for example, as the Youth Development Directorate, we have youth centers throughout the country that we are establishing in different communities in partnership with our provincial counterparts, and youth clubs. So we're saying we want a more proactive approach. So instead of getting, so there's other programs designed for teenage mothers, for those who have abused alcohol, but we are focusing on being proactive, get them while they're still young, and get those minds off the gutter.
Okay, I think maybe this is a point to break, because in the next segment I'd like us to get as practical as we possibly can and try and unpack this healthy living. What is it that you can do to live healthily? Please stay with us.
Akungiphathi kahle kakhulu, wayisho ukuthi umntana makashonile bangasho. For what did they die?
Ngifuna i-death certificate yomntwana. Ngifuna i-paperwork yasesibhedlela.
Back-to-back victories for Bongmusa Mtembu, his second down run victory.
It was very emotional, you know. I've been putting a lot of work on my training. I'm very happy. Coach is amazing.
Just completely unexpected, just a dream come true.
In Mandela Squatter Camp in Soweto, single mother Mapumulo shares the stress of having to feed her 16-year-old twins.
Maema imela nga kudisa. Wa koro. How so we metsu qetelletse o sona le bogale bosa se go botswa kae. Kore ha ke tsebe le batho ha ba sheba ba bona se ba bona ka ba bona selwane ha se le motho.
They receive 2 meals a day from the African Children's Feeding Scheme, a 70-year-old feeding program that feeds over 14,500 children daily. Her 16-year-old twins know the physical intensity of hunger well.
When you are hungry, you feel very weak, your stomach is empty, it's growling. You just feel like, is this thunder inside your stomach? The lightning is like, you know, that sound makes that sound that you are hungry now. You feel really weak, you feel like sleeping or lying down. Then again, emotionally, you just feel like, this is not life. I can't stay like this, I can't live like this. I have to do something about this. Before we came to the feeding scheme, we usually went to bed without any food. Went to school without any food, so we wouldn't be able to concentrate properly in class, and then would always get into trouble by fighting other learners because of we would be hungry. But then when we came to African Children Feeding Scheme, we got food, we were able to go to bed with food, we were able to go to school after eating, which make a lot of difference because of we were able to play with other kids, we were able to concentrate in class.
For Kiabetswe, a young South African who has lived through hunger, he is hopeful that a united South Africa can tackle the food apartheid that threatens to further divide an already divided society.
As Mother Teresa said, if you cannot feed 100, just feed 1. Do your best. Play your part. Let us not say they are not my problem. No, there is a famous saying that says it takes a village to raise a child. As Africans, we must all unite to fight hunger. The hunger right now seems to be dominating. Yes, it won the battle, but it hasn't won the war. It is up to us to contribute, to help them, to give them something, to give them hope. We must give them hope, to give them a reason to live for. Amen.
Amen indeed. Isn't that sweet? All right, we're talking youth and health, and we're going to be focusing on healthy living. We still have our guest, Zizila Kumalonyembe, Assistant Director of Youth at the Department of Social Development, Ingrid Lowe, CEO of Aware.org, and we're now joined by Vusi Sabe, who's a dietitian. Welcome to Health Talk, Vusi.
Thank you, Dr. Solo, for the opportunity as well.
All right, so we heard that clip about, hunger. Obviously, you've heard the rest of the show. We're talking about youth and health. Nutrition plays an important part in the lives of not just youth, obviously, everybody, but here we're talking youth. Your comments?
I still feel strongly about nutrition, that forms part of the basic unit of life, Of course, from the previous video that we've just looked at, sometimes there's situations whereby nutrition is not there for other people, But I still believe that we still have to make sure that even if on those situations of there's poverty, we still can maintain a healthy, balanced diet, all right? So that at the end of the day, we'll be able to give adequate nutrient supply for their bodies as well.
So it talks to a previous point that was made around access to healthy eating, if we can say that. You know, somebody was making a point that sometimes the healthier options are a bit more expensive. But here's an example of somebody, you know, having a garden in their own household that can produce healthier foods, which is, you know, at an affordable cost, so to say.
Yes. If you look at in South Africa, they've tried to actually look at that situations whereby some of our people, they cannot be having access towards you know, most expensive foods. So what they've done is they've put a process called fortification. In most of our staple foods are actually fortified with all the micronutrients like your iron, your vitamin A, you know, so that at the end of the day they'll be able to get those adequate essential micronutrients, you know. But we need to look at the other factors as well, like establishing a food garden. We have seen in most of the communities that we have community projects whereby people are donating to making their food gardens. And also in our households, we can try to make our own food gardens. But of course, if you look at it in a market, fruits and vegetables are quite expensive at this point in time. Look at most probably also to put, especially when looking at the protein parts, most of the people, they feel like they've got to eat meat all the time, but including the beans, lentils, split peas, that's still part of the you know, the food group, like proteins, so that we can able to make sure that we balance the nutrients, you know. So having a stable food that is fortified, then having a veg and also the beans, it still forms part of a cheap kind of you know, healthy meal one can have.
Susan, I'm sure you'd like to comment on this. You made the point earlier on about the problem of obesity. And of course around the issue of what's practical out there for people. Your comment?
Yeah, the department has a program, CNDC's Community Nutrition Distribution Centers, and they are found in the most vulnerable communities in all 52 districts in South Africa. The focus of those centers and the purpose of those centers is to really identify households that are living below the poverty line, where there's really nothing from nothing, where you can't even say potato, there's nothing from nothing. And there is one full meal provided per household for each household in those centers, but communities are encouraged to then participate and own those centers. So there are vegetable gardens around the centers where community members that are not working are encouraged to then participate and really, in a way, work for their own bread. So that's one approach. Another approach that is trying to also be a bit proactive is the National Youth Leadership Camp. The department hosts a series of leadership camps for young people, and a lot of the content is on active citizenry, youth development, leadership development, different soft skills that are imparted on young people. But one of the major things that the department partners with the Department of Defense and Military Veterans, and we host these camps in military base camps. So physical training, proper introduction to what a proper diet looks like. And this is low budget. You must know, this is low budget, so we're not talking caviars but what the significance of pilchards are and what it does to the body. So these are part of the programs, and what we're doing is that we're taking that curricula and empowering young people that are leading our youth centers in different communities, that are leading youth organizations and youth clubs, to also use that curricula that we've developed so that it can be used at a practical
Let me
form.
give Ingrid, you know, before we run out of time, it's not just about nutrition. Healthy living is just not about, you know, it's about lifestyle as well. Your final comments.
I think healthy living is about making healthy choices. And particularly if you're talking to the youth, and as I said earlier in the program, if you're 17 and under, then it's absolute no-no to consuming alcohol, because it has physiological and it has physical impact on the development of the brain. Then you start having learning challenges and learning problems. So what we're trying to do as an organization is that we have an underage drinking program that we're actually implementing right now, and we're going into the schools, we're giving them the teachers content so they can actually work with the kids around issues like peer pressure, self-esteem issues, etc. And then we also are bringing the community into a dialogue. So we're going to bring church leaders, community leaders, we're bringing the teachers and the parents, and we're hoping that together with the community, we can actually find solutions, because it can't be, it's not my problem, it's not just your problem. As Zizi said earlier, together we can do it, and that's what we're hoping to achieve.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful phrase to end the show with. Together we can do it. I'd like to thank you so much for your contribution. Unfortunately, that's all we're going to have it for today. And for viewers out at home, thank you so much for staying with us. These are special guests that we've had. Zizile Kumalonyembe from the Department of Social Development, Ingrid Lowe, CEO of Aware.org, Vusi Sape, a dietitian, and of course we had Pumlani Somakala from SADC earlier on. And yeah, want to thank you so much for being with us. And we're back on the screens again next week, same time. And if you've missed any of our previous shows, remember that you can always download them from YouTube. So I'm Dr. Silo Moteung. Until next time, please do take care.